Welcome everyone to a new episode of our pilot season, Break Up the Daily Grind. My name is Ben, and my co-host Corey is sitting across the table. Corey, how's your week been?
Yo, 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 yo. My week has been straight fire.
Sometimes your intros.
Skip me.
Right on point. So today we have my buddy Matt. He's back for a second round to help us with our topic. Matt, I'm glad to see that you agreed to come back. Our shenanigans must not have scared you too much.
We don't usually get second returning guests.
That's a fun topic.
It's a fun topic. Good. So today I'd like to let you know this episode has been brought to you by
DJManLive.com. J-Man's passion is to make your event unforgettable. Check him out at DJManLive.com. That's DJManLive.com. Tell him Ben and Corey sent you.
That's how we pay the bills. So before we get started with today's topic, you guys all know what time it is. We do this at the beginning of every episode. This is going to be our bad dad joke section.
Let's go.
So, all right. So, number one. When does a joke become a dad joke?
Oh, some lore. All right. When?
When it becomes apparent. What's blue and doesn't weigh very much?
I don't know what.
Light blue.
Okay, that's dumb. That's dumb as hell. What?
Did you know that I was named after my dad?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because, I mean, it's kind of impossible to be named before my dad.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Ben, you're officially fired.
Yeah.
Boy. Yes. I like it.
Freedom.
Okay, last one. Did you hear about the indecisive rower?
I did not hear about the indecisive rower.
Yeah, he couldn't choose either or.
Okay. I like that.
Like that one?
Yeah, that one's
Okay.
good. I like that one.
Well, I'm glad that put a smile on your face, and I hope it put a smile on everyone else's face.
You really do a good job at saving like the best of the four for last. I always look forward to the fourth one. The fourth one's
try.
always a banger.
I try. Sometimes they're more than just that, but you know, hey. So with that out, now we can get back to round two.
Oh,
of conspiracy theories, right? Don't get it too close. That'd be copyright infringement. Because I tried to find the one from
Ancient Aliens.
No, I tried to find the one from
X-Files.
Yes, I couldn't. You had to pay for it.
That sucks.
I couldn't find something close enough. I think you got like 8 seconds or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't. You couldn't get anywhere close. I was like, man, that would have been perfect.
Oh, maybe I can find something. I might take a look, see if I can find
Well, just make sure there's no copyright.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah. I'm good at that stuff.
Do it on your guitar.
Oh, that would be cool.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do a little snippet.
Okay, so I want to remind all the listeners to let us know your favorite and or best dad joke is. Send us a message on Facebook or YouTube. And if that's not your thing, you can always drop us a line at mo9studios@gmail.com. Okay, so last week we talked about a few theories, like Roanoke, Virginia, Bigfoot, Portlock, Alaska, and what was the other one? Oh, that's right, we didn't make it to the moon.
No. Well, because we talked about. I remember you had another one.
We did talk about the moon quite a bit.
Yeah, at the beginning, and
Right.
then the Curse of Timor.
That was the other one.
Yeah, that was the other one.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and for just as a after the fact, I was looking for some more stuff.
Yeah.
And I come across some more of the moon landing stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So remember I asked, did anybody actually look at the moon to see if the flags were there? I'll be a son of a gun. They did.
Really?
They looked. They there was actually, which I didn't know this, there was 6 flags in total that were planted. And they used lapse photography to take photos of the moon where those flags were located at. So what they were doing is they were trying to see the shadow cast from the flag. So they used the lapse photography to see if they were still there, right? But those photos prove that somebody had to be there to plant the flag. So because the lapse photography shows it changing with the position of the moon. So I guess most of them are still standing. I think there was 1 or 2 that had fallen. I don't think they verified those were there. I think it was Neil Armstrong or whatever said when they took off, the propulsion for the motor knocked that one down. But the rest of them, and they showed the pictures. You could see the lapse photography where you could see the flag, the shadow from the flag from the sun. Changing. So that was kind of cool. But it took them. They didn't do that until like 40 years after, right? So
trick photography. They had a guy build a house on the moon, but on the dark side, so you couldn't see the house. And then he'd come out every day and change the flag positioning so that whenever they took photos of it,
you are goofy.
I can't even continue.
No. Besides, they didn't build a house. They built a military base on the other side.
I was pulling so much stuff out of my head. A military base.
Well, yeah, the lizard people built one on the other side of the moon, so we just rent from them,
Oh yeah, and all the craters on the moon are because it's a nuclear test site for them.
Yeah, I always wondered why they didn't. Of course, we quit going. Supposedly we quit going because it lost interest. But there's so many advancements that we could do if we would just go there or even farther out in orbit and do the tests that we need. We could do a lot of stuff that we can't do here on Earth for safety reasons.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't do that. But
probably a lot more expensive to do a bunch of tests in space than it is to do them right here on Earth.
Well, if the tests fail, obviously it's a complete loss. But, if you're trying to figure out how to, say, build fusion generators or something, if those fail, you'd be better off having nuclear bombs on the planet instead of a fusion bomb.
Right.
But
or manipulating atoms like CERN.
Well, yeah. Chernobyl.
Yeah, you've heard of CERN, right?
I've heard of it, but I don't necessarily. I can't recall exactly what that is.
Well, the rumor is that they have like portals.
Oh, you talking about
that?
Yeah, you talking about the CERN Collider. The hell is it called?
It's huge.
Oh,
Collider. The CERN Collider.
Right. It's like the size of a building. It's huge.
Small town or something built in the mountain. Yeah.
Yep.
Where they make different. They try to make different molecules or something. So, yeah, they could do that on space. That way, if it blows up, it doesn't. It just kills whoever's on the thing.
Yeah.
But that's what they sign up for. So, so I was looking at the JFK assassination. Oh, Matt's eyes got about that big. He's like, yeah. So
cut me a slice of that cake.
Yeah. And as I was looking, I found a few articles, and the funny thing is that conspiracy actually goes, because he was killed in 1963. That theory actually starts back in 1948. Now, that's weird, right? How does a conspiracy start before the assassination?
Like a plot conspiracy?
Yeah, well, so this is how it lays out, right? So, in June of 1948, there was a document written it was called the National Security Council Directive, right? And that started term, right? Air quotes, plausible deniability. Right? This gave the highest sanction of the U.S. government a broad range to do covert operations. Right? So anything that would be, wrong, this plausible deniability gives them the right to do that. It creates a loophole well, we didn't do it. You can't prove that we did it. So, and that actually started, like I said, 48, under the leadership of the CIA, which started right around that time too. What was his name? Alan Dulles. So he's the one that started the doctrine of plausible deniability. That gave them the green light to do all kinds of weird shit, assassinations, conduct secret military operations, overthrow governments, all kinds of crap. So, and what I found was that the CIA, which was actually made by Truman, right? He made that group for the sole purpose of getting all available information to him, and it didn't matter, how he got whatever he wanted, and that creates a little bit of power vacuum, power surge, right? Because the CIA has the ability to work outside of federal laws. They're not actually even part of the government, right? They are actually like a private company outside of U.S. government rules. So they can do all kinds of funny stuff and not have any
repercussions.
Yeah, because it's all under that document with plausible deniability. If you take that kind of information and you fast track it to 63, right? So the CIA actually kind of, from what I was reading, it looks like the CIA actually set Kennedy up for a failure at the Bay of Pigs. Okay? So he was mad about that because it got messy. So he said that he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter them, right? He just wanted to tear it apart. He set up rules to cut their funding. So he cut the CIA budget in 62 and again in 63. And it was aiming for a 20% decrease in their funding, which, 20% don't seem like much. But when you're talking, they probably have a budget of billions of dollars. That's a lot of a lot of green. Of course, the CIA doesn't. They don't want that. Then you kind of go into the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that stuff. That all happened right after that, right? Mm-hmm. Come to find out, there was several secret powers that were pressuring Kennedy and Russia, right, to actually go to war. So Kennedy does something that's completely out of context, right? He does something that he's told not to do. He actually reaches out to Russia. He goes, "Hey, dude, we don't want to go to war. That's not. He goes, "Help me stop this shit from happening."
Was that Gorbachev at the time?
No.
Actually, Gorbachev was more in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I think so. No, I guess I didn't write down his name. I couldn't have pronounced it if I wanted to anyway. So
right.
Yeah, so he didn't want to go to war. So he reaches out to Russia. He goes, "Help me stop this from happening." Right? Or a little more focus on it. He made a lot of big moves when it come to laws and stuff. In 61 to 63, he did a lot of stuff. He pulled out of Vietnam, which, a lot of people, they didn't, people wanted it, but, government didn't want that. He also, which I didn't know this, he also closed large contracts of steel companies. And he closed the large steel companies. He actually closed those contracts and then divided up against smaller companies. So,
are you talking military contracts?
Yeah, government contracts for steel.
Tanks.
Yeah, tanks, buildings, whatever the government wants steel for. So he did that, and then he banned tests on nuclear bombs, and you said something about this too, which I didn't know, but he also had a joint venture. He was trying to do a joint venture with Russia to land on the moon, and that was like, you're trying to make friends of our enemies.
Right, it was a competition.
Right. Well, and it was risky. He also had meetings with China. So he was deliberately making meetings with all these other countries that are supposedly our enemy.
Well, because they're communists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest of the government didn't like it.
Yeah.
Right? That's treason.
Especially with how terrifying it was to think about communism at the time too.
Yeah.
Right.
And any hint of like associating with like China or Russia is
that's a big no-no.
if the president's associating with these two, what's that look like for America,
Yeah.
Is communism on the way in right now? Like you could spin that in all sorts of
Right.
Probably all based on monetary reasons too.
Right. And you take some people that are like the CIA, who's the CIA and the FBI and all those other groups that they're trained to think, to expect the unexpected. Okay, where's he going with this? Blah, blah, blah. And this is what it looks like. So they jump to conclusions. So, but JFK tries to be a peacemaker in this whole thing, right? And that makes a lot of people nervous and scared. And he knew it. He knew what he was doing, and he knew what the repercussions were. Matter of fact, there was also a quote that I found that he told Jacqueline Kennedy, right? He said, if somebody wants to shoot me from a window with a rifle, nobody can stop them.
No.
Right? Yeah, I'm like...
That's wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I guess that was made just days before his assassination.
Interesting.
Yeah, so... I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't think he was necessarily... I would almost bet that he was not working alone, right?
No.
Because I also found out that he was actually a Marine, right, for quite a few years. And he actually defected to Russia and turned to Marxism. So, I mean... But a good conspiracy means that he defected and become a Marxist, which would put the crosshairs on Russia.
Right. Was that just made up?
Well, that's what the CIA does, right? It's covert.
Fabricate stories.
Fabricate. So he could have easily, that part of whatever happened, they could have easily pulled him out of wherever he was at, said he defected, set him up, and went from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been the cover story. Nobody would have been the wiser.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily believe that, because the story was, well, Lee did it, he was all on his own, Russia didn't have nothing to do with it, and I don't necessarily believe that they did.
Well,
So-
it doesn't really make sense because he was trying to work with them.
Right.
So,
Right. And I don't think a lot of people knew that.
Right.
A lot of people probably didn't know that he reached out to Russia. He reached out to China. He's like, look, I'm getting pressured to make these moves. And with whatever you're doing is going to force me to do those. And I don't want to do that.
Right.
Let's not.
He
Let's
basically
not.
gave him a heads up.
Yeah, let's not have a World War III.
Right.
Right? Let's miss this one. And it really worked. So I don't know. And here's and if you want to kind of put the rest of it in perspective here too, Jack Ruby, which was the man that shot Lee Harvey Oswald, right? Only 2 days after, shot him 2 days after this whole thing happened. And Ruby was never put on trial for a murder of anybody. If you met somebody at the courthouse and shot him, you're going bye-bye.
Yeah.
This guy didn't do anything. He says, well, he was incompetent to stand trial or some horse shit kind of excuse. But I mean, that just, with all that kind of information, it's like, well, that just makes sense, right?
It's super sketchy.
Super sketchy. Now, did the CIA do it? I don't know. Will they ever tell us? No. I mean, that's the whole good thing about a conspiracy. If you can do it and never get caught, why the hell would you admit to it?
Yep.
But a lot of this stuff was all redacted. But it's so old, and I believe, and I can't be 100% sure of this, but I think Trump was actually the one that released some of this info. I think he declassified it.
He declassified a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so it's still a lot of it was probably redacted, but there was probably a bunch of it that wasn't.
Like
right?
it's inadmissible, but it's out there now.
Yeah, that nobody's going back and say, oh, well, so and so did it. Well, the people that did it are probably not alive anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're like, well, you know it, but yeah, we just won't worry about it. Yeah, that's some crazy. I found some other stuff too. I'm thinking, man, the CIA is hooked into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, think about like crack in the 80s. That was rumored to be the CIA's fault.
Right.
Because they were trying to send weapons to the Contras.
Right.
Remember that?
It was cocaine. It wasn't crack. It was cocaine.
Well, yeah, it was cocaine, but then the people in California turned it into crack.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard a story. The company that does the bananas and stuff that you see in the store all the time.
Right.
I forget what their company is called.
He's probably thinking of Chiquita or something.
Yeah, Chiquita. So they had plantations down in South America. That's where, and they outsourced out there because they could pay their workers like nothing,
right,
and make them work like
all day and all night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
slave labor.
Yeah, pretty much. And they started revolting and going on strike, and all they wanted was 6-day work weeks instead of 7, and like a 20-cent pay raise and access to like better medical on the job, because it was like a really like strenuous job that they were doing. And so the owners of these plantations were like, oh, well, let's spin this to make it look like they're trying to support communism. And that's what they're protesting about, and that they're trying to push for communism down here on our banana plantations. And so they called up the government, and I assume the CIA, because they're the ones that deal with the international stuff.
Yeah.
And they sent someone down, and they slaughtered all of them who protested.
Oh, yeah.
And then they didn't have another protest for like years after that. But they're like, give us the names of the leaders, and everyone else lives, like the protest leaders. And so they got them, and then they just decided to kill everybody who was involved at that point. And then that same banana plantation bought more land up, but this time it was like in like the southern part of Mexico.
Right.
They ended up owning more land than the actual country that they bought the land from at the end of the day. Right. And so the leader of that country was not happy about it. And so what did they do again? They called up Big Daddy government and they just decided, let's just not deal with this, and they toppled that entire government anyways.
Right.
And so they didn't have to deal with it. So yeah. There's always some shady stuff going on.
Oh, there is. And it always seems funny that unfortunately the CIA in the United States seems to get pulled into that shit quite frequently.
So do you guys know there's a Bermuda Triangle in Lake Michigan?
In Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting.
So basically it goes from, let's see here, Ludington to Manitowoc to Benton Harbor, and then back to Ludington.
Well, I know where Ludington is. I'm thinking
like
Manitowoc.
There's the triangle.
Okay, so from almost down by Chicago.
Right.
Or Holland. Holland is down there too.
Yeah.
South Bend. Yep. So basically, since the 1700s, 1800s, there's been like disappearances and all kinds of weird things that happen there, and so
it's a UFO base,
right? That's another thing. They were talking about lights and stuff like that. But in I think it was 1890, there was a ship that went out, and they like lost contact with it and basically found it upside down,
right?
And no crew. And I think it was a crew of like 30 people. or 40, somewhere around there. And anyway, so they brought it back, rebuilt it, and the captain that was supposed to go out on this first voyage out since it had been rebuilt had a dream, and in the dream it told him not to go. 'Cause something bad was going to happen. So he just made something up, said he was sick or whatever. He can't go.
Right.
So this ship went out with a new captain, and same thing happened. Flipped over.
That was in the same area.
Roughly, yeah, in that triangle.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if it was going across to. Must have been going across to Wisconsin or whatever.
Maybe, yeah. And then there was a big freight ship that they found on the bottom of the lake. It was like split in half.
Yeah.
Like a huge freight ship.
Yeah.
I can't remember when that was, though. Maybe like early 1900s. But, in 1950, there was a plane with 50 people on it.
Yeah.
And that just disappeared without a trace.
Probably in the bottom of the lake.
Right.
Well, once it hits, if that was the case and it hits the water, it's going to disintegrate anyway.
Sure.
You ain't never going to find the plane anyway.
No, and we didn't really have much technology in the 50s. So.
It's not like we had GPS in the 50s.
Right, or it got beamed up by a UFO.
Yeah. I don't think they would beam it up. It'd have a better chance of running into it.
Maybe it was the mothership.
Oh, jeez.
Got the size.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we'll just take that. What's this little thing floating there? What's this mosquito?
They won't miss that.
No, they won't miss that. And obviously we didn't.
Right, exactly. But yeah, there's just been all kinds of mishaps and disappearances and different things.
So
kind of cool.
Yeah, actually, I think this sort of happened in that same area that you're talking about. Is this disappearance of Stephen Kubacki. So essentially in 1978, he went on a cross-country skiing trip over the frozen Lake Michigan. And so he ended up disappearing. Two snowmobilers ended up discovering his ski poles and all of his equipment.
But no skis?
But he wasn't there.
Okay.
So he just it's like he just vanished. And so they sent search and rescue teams, and then they determined, because he was 23 years old, he was a senior in college. So they determined that he was dead, and so his family, they mourned his death. His college held a memorial service and issued his diploma for him. And then 15 months later, a motorist in Massachusetts picked him up, and he was taken to the nearest payphone. But they didn't, the motorist didn't know it was Steven at the time.
Right.
He just thought it was this guy that needed a hand. And so he told his friends and the media that he'd woken up in a nearby field wearing clothes he didn't recognize, and that he had no recollection of what happened to him on the lake or in the months that followed. So he miraculously reemerged and made national headlines for a few days.
And how long between the day he disappeared and the day he showed up?
15 months.
15 months, a year. A little over a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it takes a long time to fly to the next galaxy and back. Or maybe he was part of the CIA, and they brainwashed him to believe that he was, somewhere else.
MK Ultra.
Yeah,
so
MK Ultra.
He actually did say what happened.
Yeah?
Yeah. He said, it says, after almost 45 years of silence, Stephen Kubacki was ready to reveal where he went after he disappeared. His experience is much stranger and also much more believable than anyone suspects. The story involves a revolutionary organization, an idealistic terrorist in training named Nathan T. Stanfield, spiritual experiences with hallucinogenic drugs and alternate realities, the French Foreign Legion, and a young man's struggle to find a meaning during turbulent times. And so I guess he used that disappearance as an excuse to do all that.
So he decided to join some Religious militia?
Yeah, that's almost what it sounds like revolutionary organization. So I don't really know.
What was that called? Nathan what?
Nathan T. Stanfield. That was just one of the things. He said he had spiritual experiences with hallucinogenic drugs, alternate realities, the French Foreign Legion. I don't.
So could just be just.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
But I'm sure if that's part of it, I'm sure that the foreign the French version of the CIA probably
the French Foreign
blocked
Legion.
all that out of it anyway. It's like TikTok has been banned.
Right.
Man,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So I always thought that was wild that he just vanished like that. A lot of people are speculating too that he was what is it? A criminal on the run.
Right.
But none of his family or friends or associates or anything knew about it. And a lot of people think that he was wanted for crimes, whatever they may be, and that he planned this whole disappearance. He went out into the middle of nowhere so that he could make it look like he got lost or abducted.
I was thinking he fell through the ice.
Yeah,
right.
That was another thing too. The snowmobilers that came across when they found his stuff. That was the first thought that had crossed their mind when they went to authorities, was that maybe he fell down one of those crevices.
A pressure crack in the ice.
And
because Lord knows I've hit those on snowmobiles, and I tell you what.
Yeah.
You want to make your sphincter pucker real fast. Hit a pressure crack in a big lake like that. The one I hit was on a smaller lake, inlet lake, but a massive lake like that, it could easily be open water when you hit it.
Oh, right? Yeah. If you fall in that, you're not
done.
Yeah. You're not getting out.
Yeah. Hypothermia is going to kill you before you even get a chance to get out of that water.
Those things, you know how deep those can be?
Yeah. Well, it's Lake Michigan. It's deep.
Yeah.
Right. But once you get, it doesn't matter how deep it is. Once you get under the ice, because it's going to,
Oh, no. I was thinking about.
Takes you.
I was thinking about one of those ravines that you can fall into.
You're talking about crevice?
Yeah, that's what when hikers who go up mountains and stuff, it's something you got.
But that would be that'd be more toward glaciers.
Yeah.
Not toward an open body like a lake or something. But I don't even know. You get out far enough, I don't even know if Lake Michigan even freezes, does it? Will it freeze all the way across?
Yeah, it'll freeze all the way across.
I mean, if it's cold enough, I guess it would.
It has to, because animals and stuff would cross over from.
Well, I think it might freeze in spots.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would constantly consistently be one big sheet of ice. Because I know,
I feel like it would, because, it's not really the fact that it's, wide. It's just, how deep would it freeze?
Yeah, but you get out that far, the wind is going to keep the water moving, so it doesn't freeze, right? Because it keeps it in motion. Now it might freeze, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles from shore. It might be a solid ice, right? And it doesn't say that he was out in the middle, did it?
No.
It just said he was out on.
He was
ice,
out, and I assume that's probably like the border on the water,
Right. Yeah, because you go out 4 or 5 miles to be solid ice.
Yeah.
But you get out that far, if you hit a thin spot, you could easily go through.
Oh, yeah.
Once you go through, you start, hypothermia sinks in a matter of minutes. Yeah. If you're not ready for it, you may not even think about how to get out.
Yep.
And even if you get out, you still might die because you're out in the middle of nowhere, soaked.
Right. So, at that point, if you don't get up on top of the ice, you're as good as dead anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do get up on top of the ice, at least they'll find the body.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, unless a wild animal gets it first.
Yeah, but you would still have, that'd be pretty big. I mean, I guess if it drug it far enough. But I don't think you're not going to find those kind of predators on the ice that far out. Because there's not really anything, unless they're trying to get across the lake.
Yeah, I assume they're not looking for food at that point.
Right.
And if you're frozen, they're probably not going to mess with you anyways.
No,
they don't. I don't think they care about.
You know what? It's a slushy. It's like they chew it up. Hell, my dog chews on big chunks of ice on the backyard.
You remember Daisy with the poopsicles?
She would love to eat the frozen ones.
Ugh,
sick dog. So I mean, if a body was out there, if the predator could smell it, it would eat it. There's no doubt in my mind. So yeah, cool. What's next?
I had another one, but my computer decided to restart itself.
Oh, beautiful. I got one, but I don't. Mine actually might hit a nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With who?
Everybody but us.
I was gonna say, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? It's okay.
Because this one's actually about COVID.
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah.
Cool,
right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So here's something interesting, right? So COVID hit in 2020, right? And they're like, well, it's a natural phenomenon, right? A lot of. I'm not gonna say it was government, but a lot of media said that. I guess governments over there said it was a natural phenomenon that come from this and that and whatnot, and the media said, oh yeah, this is but actually there was a lot of information where that actually came from, and anybody who follows this kind of subject would probably have heard of the Wuhan lab in China, right? Mm-hmm. They said, well, it's not that kind of lab. It's not that we don't do that kind of stuff. Well, come to find out, the Wuhan lab is classified as a gain of function lab, right? So the gain of function lab means that they take natural viruses and stuff like that, and they genetically manipulate it to see what it can do, to see what it does, right? Yeah. Now, whether they're trying to do it to eradicate, destroy, vaccinate, or turn it into something a lot more deadly,
like a weapon.
Yeah, that's hearsay, right?
Yeah. Right.
But that's what those kind of labs do. Now they said that a lot of people says, well, it's all China. It's all China. Well, guess what, buddy?
Fauci.
Well, not necessarily him, but the United States actually not only helped build that lab, but they were funding that lab for years, right? Before that got out.
Well, Fauci was a part of it.
Yeah, Fauci was part of a subsidiary of.
He's still linked to it as well.
Right. He was the head of a subgroup. I think it was called USAID or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that was part of the National Institute of Health, right? So he wasn't the main. He wasn't at the top of the food chain. He was like right smack dab in the middle, which makes him an excellent scapegoat. Right. So the NIH was funding this lab, right? And they were funding more than $1.4 million a year would flow into that lab for the Wuhan project, right? And Dr. Lawrence Talbach acknowledged later, after all that stuff kind of got out and they kind of swept it underneath, swept it out of the media, acknowledged that lab was a gain of functions lab, research lab for bats and coronaviruses, and they used that coronavirus from the bats and they modified it with SARS and MERS. So they added that into that. And what that did was made it contractable to humans and made it highly contagious.
Right.
So because the bat coronavirus was not transmittable between bats and humans in that stage. But when you take something like that and you manipulate the DNA of that virus, it you get something that you can't control very well.
Right.
So after COVID got out, right? And I'm not going to go into the whole detail. Everyone knows how it got out and what they said it got out. But the NIH, the National Institute of Health, reported, and this is like years after when they did all the when Congress got involved, and they said they told Congress that they did not send money to that. But that was not completely the truth, because after it got out, they quit funding it, but they had already funded up until that point anyway. So it was kind of a gray lie or white lie or whatever you want to call it. So the original virus, because COVID is not the name of the virus, right?
Right.
COVID is the disease. Mm-hmm. And even depending on what website that you looked at, even coronavirus is not the name of the actual virus. I had conflicting. One website said that coronavirus was the disease and not the name of the virus, and another one said it was the name of the virus. So I really can't. I got to kind of throw that one out. But
isn't it like SARS?
Well, see, the one that actually originally caused COVID or coronavirus or COVID-19 or whatever you want to call it was actually SARS, SARS -CoV -2.
Yep.
That's the actual name of it.
And SARS has been around for forever.
Right. Which actually, SARS was actually designed, from what I was reading, from another gain of function
nice
lab, also in China, like up and down around the corner.
Wow.
Yeah, in 2002. So that puts it 20 years ahead, right? So you take a lab invented, and then you mix it with a natural, and there's nothing natural about this virus.
It's a biological weapon.
Yeah. I never did figure out why they said that they were doing it
for a biological weapon.
Well, I don't believe. I would like to believe that when the National Institute of Health was in on it or doing the research, I don't think that they were actually saying that they were trying to figure out biological weapons.
I don't think so either.
So what happened? What I had heard and what I had read, and my theory is that they were doing this joint venture to try to figure out, maybe they were trying to abolish coronavirus. So they were trying to figure out how they could destroy it. I think the Chinese government got in on it, or the elite, or whatever you want to say. Somebody said, well, once they started seeing what was happening, they're like, yeah, no, we can't continue this research because this is bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is going down the biological warfare that is supposedly against. There's treaties against that stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're just gonna have to just wipe this off and discontinue this. And somebody says, that's good research. Yeah, no, you can go. We have control of this, and this is what we're gonna do, right? So I don't think the government actually had their part in releasing it. But
somebody did,
and there was actual evidence. So China knew that the virus had escaped from Wuhan labs.
Yeah.
Right? A classified U.S. intelligence report says that 3 researchers from Wuhan actually were treated for that virus before people in the city actually started getting sick. So there's documents stating that the government knew about what that did and how contagious it was before it ever got out.
Oh, okay.
Now, if they knew it was that contagious, do you not think that if they were being morally right, they'd be like, yeah, no, we got to put the kibosh on this before it gets out. But all of a sudden, if it gets out, darn well that shit was released on purpose.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think some of the whistleblowers disappeared as well, too.
Oh, of course.
From the China.
Something that big. Yeah. Something that big, somebody's going to disappear.
I mean, why would they release it there then, If you wanted to intentionally release it, wouldn't you want to release it away from, your
Well, maybe
population?
They released it everywhere.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, that was my original guess.
Right.
Because they probably knew how to treat it.
Yeah.
They knew how to control it. So if you release it on your soil,
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no, we didn't do. We didn't.
How
release
could
it
we have done it? Yeah, we didn't do it. This started on.
First.
Yeah, we got it first. Why would we release it on ourselves? Yeah, I assume that was probably why.
Yeah.
They would do it to themselves. That's still messed up, though.
Oh, it's highly messed up. Now, obviously, all this stuff is hearsay because anybody that knows the truth is not going to. Obviously, if they're still alive, they're going to keep their mouth shut.
Right.
Because either they've been told to, or they don't want to disappear like the rest of them.
Right.
We're
just all left to speculate.
Right. And the facts, there's a lot of facts there. It's just amazing how much stuff that you can find on this stuff now. I found a lot of it on wanttoknow.info.
Mm-hmm.
Was a website that I got a lot of this stuff from.
Yeah.
And there's so much reference on that website. It would take me years to read it all.
Well, they kept a lot of it quiet. Remember, for a couple of years, you couldn't even talk about it, like on YouTube or any of the social media platforms. So.
Right. Yep. And they were always blaming somebody.
Right.
So,
hate to spread misinformation.
The problem is the actual information was never released, so that's all you had was misinformation.
Right.
Yeah. So, and even on top of that, even the FBI director, when they did all their, because there was all kinds of council meetings that were held, and a bunch of information was released there, but even in one of those meetings, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, actually had commented in his statement that he believes that COVID-19 was most likely originated in a Chinese government-controlled lab. So everyone knew where it came from.
Right.
But everyone was like, no.
So, as far as the present time goes, is it just slowly petered out or what?
Well, it's just like any good. It's like any good thing. People get tired of hearing about it,
right?
Because the ones that listen to the propaganda won't listen to the real stuff.
Right.
The people that listen to the real stuff are tired of hearing the propaganda.
Yeah.
So nobody's listening anymore
to any of it.
Yeah. They're like, we believe what we believe. I believe what I believe. You believe what you believe, and everyone else believes what they believe. They're not going to go back and look at it because they're like, I'm tired of hearing about it.
Well, there's so much misinformation out there that it's impossible to fact check everything, and going through article after article, website after website, form after form, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And so people typically settle on what they like to hear the most and what, lines up with their idea and their ideologies the most. Like, okay, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm going to go with.
Yep, that's the one I'm going to go with. Not saying it's any fault of their own, because there is a lot, like nowadays, especially with how much information's out there. It's like, how are you supposed to know what to trust and what not to trust?
Yeah, and like I said, there's so much reference on that website and other websites that you would have to just to take a little snippet off the website. You would have to check, massive books that were released. Big 1,000-page books or whatever they are, right? To you would have to read all that book, get a consensus of it, just to check fact 3 lines, right? I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yep, I'm good.
It's just one of those things we'll never know.
No,
just like everything else, conspiracy-wise,
Yeah, and at that point, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna believe what you believe, and individuals are gonna fill in the blanks as they believe. Like, I would love to think that a lot of the stuff that we know as conspiracies, right, that always seem to lead back to the government,
right?
Unfortunately, ours. I would love to believe that is not necessarily the case. Like, the government is just going to, not let a good pandemic go to waste.
Right.
Like, we know what the truth is. You know, it really wasn't us, but we can take this and kind of make it to our advantage.
One sad thing about the whole thing is that the media, I think, lost all its credibility. Like, mainstream media lost its credibility. Nobody believes anything coming from them anymore.
No.
They're all corrupt, and they're basically owned by whatever party's in control.
Yeah, well, not necessarily which in control, but
whichever
one wants
party's
to be
got the most money.
Right, because anything can be bought, that's for sure.
Right.
I don't know. I would love to believe that, like I said, the government knows the truth, but they're just not going to let a good pandemic, a good thing go to waste. Mm-hmm. So they're going to take full advantage of it, even if it makes them look a little shady. They're going to spin it so they don't look shady,
right?
Mm-hmm. Regardless whether they had anything to do with it or not.
Well, it all kind of helped with their agenda too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They're not going to let that go to waste.
Right, not Trump's agenda, but the liberal agenda.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, there's so much stuff. Like I was picking up all kinds of like 9/11 stuff, and I'm like, geez, Louise, this stuff, this rabbit hole gets deep, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There are some crazy ones.
Yeah, but it all, and this is the scary part. It all seems to lead back to one group. It all leads back to the CIA. I went and I just kind of went down. I just kind of started glancing at other stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was glancing at the 9/11 stuff. Right. I was glancing at. I even was getting into psychological warfare stuff, and all these secret groups or plans were actually real. They've all been verified. We've heard about them before,
right?
But they all tie back to the CIA. Oh man, every one of them. I'm like,
Ben's gonna be missing now.
Yeah. They're tracking my stuff. Maybe we just cut it there and go down to something else. We don't want to blow it all.
I got a goofy one.
Okay, good. Let's change the mood here a little bit.
So this one is the birds aren't real conspiracy
I've
theory.
Heard of that one.
Yeah,
this one's really funny. I like this one. This one's it's a satirical conspiracy theory. So just a little snippet of what it is so the movement claims that all birds in the United States were exterminated by the federal government between 1559 and 1971 and replaced with look-alike drones used by the government to spy on citizens. The specifics of these theories are not always consistent, not unlike actual conspiracy theories. They claim that the birds sit on power lines to recharge themselves, that birds defecate on cars as a tracking method, and that U.S. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated by the government due to his reluctance to kill all the birds.
See, it goes right back to that, right?
Yeah, sure.
That was another ding in that one.
What's funny is we're not that interesting, you know. We're pretty boring. Why would you want to watch people just go about their daily lives?
Because the people in that, now this could be a stretch, right? But people with that kind of power become very
paranoid.
That's the word I was looking for. Paranoid. And it doesn't make logical sense. Like, they're like, well, the government's going to listen to you. Tell the SOBs, give them my phone number. I'll tell them whatever they want to hear. And I'll tell them what's going on. They're like, well, because I have cameras, around the house. Or something. Well, aren't you afraid somebody's going to hack into them? No, if they want to see, hell.
Right. Or Alexa.
Well, that's like...
Yeah. Well, they're all... That's... I wouldn't say the government. I would say more corporations.
Yeah, for marketing.
Yeah, they're listening.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've seen that where like an ad pops up like 5 minutes after you got done talking about something.
Yep.
You know, that's targeted advertising. It's a real thing, and they pick it up when you're talking because you got your phone on you or your computer next to you. Or,
right.
Like you said, Amazon Alexa.
Well, the good thing is that you get poor cell service in here.
Yeah.
And this is all recorded, and then it's cut. So they're not listening to this part unless they're streaming it. They're not listening to this.
Well, it's like Grandpa all the time because he's terrified to get on the computer to do anything.
Yeah,
because he's like,
so is my mom.
I don't want anybody hacking my Gmail. I'm like, Grandpa, they don't care. No one cares enough to hack your Gmail.
Right? They're not
like no one like you're so insignificant.
Right.
To like someone just trying to hack it. You know, they're not going out of their way to look for you. They're going to set up things that hopefully they hope you trip into.
Right.
You know, but they're not actively just like, oh, this guy right here's computer's on. Let's target him now.
I would say that's partially true. I would say more toward as of like government and businesses. They're not targeting that. But scammers and black hats and stuff like that, they will target Gmails and stuff like that.
It's like a phishing scam.
No, they're not aggressively like they're not just like, all right, getting on. Who am I gonna hack today?
Right.
You know, they're not doing that.
They're just randomly.
They're just they passive.
Yeah.
They passively do it. They're like, I'll throw a couple of these out here, like fishing lures, like you said. You know, I'll throw this out here and this out here, see if I get a few bites on that. They're not just actively like, oh, look at this guy at 123 Jefferson Lane right now on his computer. Oh, there he just typed in his bank information. Let's
No, they're looking for you to give them.
Yeah. They want to do as little work as possible to.
It makes it easier if you give it to them. They don't have to. It's not quite as illegal because you voluntarily gave the information.
Right.
So
maybe the birds could be working for who is that, Bezos?
So there was a protest in 2021 of some people supporting it. They were doing a demonstration in front of Twitter's San Francisco headquarters, demanding that the company change its bird logo.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Well, it's not Twitter anymore. It's what, X?
It's X, because what's his
Elon
name?
Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon.
Yep.
Which I just saw it as off in left field here, that he's actually gonna be part of the government now.
Yeah.
So right now he's currently getting flamed online by a ton of people because there's this game that came out called Path of Exile 2, and he claimed because he has such an ego problem. You know what I mean? He always has to be the best at everything. And this is the same. He claims he's like this pro gamer who can like do anything and be the best at any game. And so the theory is he hired people to play this game to get him to the top of it. He didn't make it. Whoever was running the account died at the 6th place spot. So he never made it. But there was one day where he streamed himself playing the game. He had no idea what he was doing. He was just saying whatever he thought people wanted to hear. He clicked on the same button, like this place on the map. Everybody who's like at that point
I don't know what's happened. That was weird.
Everyone who's played up to that point should know like exactly what to do because it's rinse and repeat. He's sitting there trying to click this thing and it's not working, and he doesn't know why because the man's never touched it before in his life. And so people start calling him out on his own like social media platform, and they started calling him out. So he started taking away all their verified check marks and stuff. Yeah,
that's petty.
Yeah, because he's a toddler, man.
Right.
Well, you get somebody that's got that kind of money that's either I don't follow him very close, right? So
I don't either. I just see what others post about
he may be as intelligent as everyone thinks. I don't know, because just because you're head of a company like that, a tech company, doesn't mean that you're necessarily the brains behind it all.
No.
Right.
When you have money, you hire the smart people to think for you. But
I don't necessarily think he should be involved in the governmental.
Yeah, it was.
I keep seeing like
the Department of.
Some of the government officials were making fun of it, like, "Oh, who should I be answering to now? President Musk?" Because he seems like everyone's saying like every picture, piece of media that they've been seeing Donald Trump in lately. He's been like right next to him.
Yeah, is he part of the Department of Government Efficiency?
Yeah,
he's going to be like the head of that or something.
It's got a lot of people on edge because they're these people that are running these like multi-billion-dollar companies should not have like these types of positions.
I do like RFK Jr. because I think he's going to be the head of the health.
Yeah, I heard that somewhere.
He's actually pretty cool. He's got some good views on things.
So. Well, yeah, he would have probably made a good president.
Right.
If they hadn't shot him down, if they hadn't shut the door on him.
Right.
So, okay.
We'll
go ahead and wrap it there. And with that, Corey and I would like to say thank you to all that stayed to the end of our discussion, no matter how crazy or absurd or philosophical it was. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you see us stop by and listen to us next week for we're not sure which topic, for more conversation anyway. And remember to like us on like and follow us at Break Up the Daily Grind on Facebook and YouTube, and we are on Spotify, which I think most of our listeners are listening from. You can leave us comments, give us new ideas. We would definitely like to hear from you for sure.
Yes.
I would also like to, again, special thanks to Matt. Matt, we extremely appreciate you coming and hang out with us. I know it's been an exciting adventure, and we appreciate your words of wisdom.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
And with that, we would like to leave you with the thought of the week.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill.
Yeah, and with that, we will see you next time.
Later, skaters.
Bye.